Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville, and welcome to Impact. Each week we bring you information about exciting and important things that are happening right here in this community, and today will be no different. You know, from time to time we have a chance to talk about the many initiatives that are going on in our community that focus on the plight of homeless individuals and tries to restore them to some semblance of a good and healthy and productive quality of life. Well, one of those organizations is called New Futures, and today we have an opportunity to talk to two individuals who are going to tell us everything we need to know, or perhaps ever wondered, about New Futures. Jerilyn Johnson is Executive Director of New Futures. Welcome to Impact.
Thank you.
It's good to have you today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, it's good. And Candy Ballenger is a Board Secretary for New Futures. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you so much, Kenny.
Let's start at the very beginning. Tell us what New Futures is.
New Futures is a homeless program. It began as an outreach program and eventually evolved into a shelter program where we house families together while they face homelessness.
And how long has it been in existence?
The agency has been in existence since 1996. The shelter was opened in 2011, November of 2011. So for almost 6 years, it'll be 6 years at the end of this year.
Okay, well, time kind of flies.
It does.
Having a good and productive time.
Yes.
One of the questions I guess people might think about is we've got organizations like First Stop, we've got the North Alabama Coalition on the Homeless. You have multiple organizations that are concerned about homeless people in this community, including one of which I'm a board member, the United Way of Madison County. Right. We're always talking about these social issues and concerns in the community. So what led to the development of New Futures? Was it trying to fill a niche? Was it perhaps trying to target a certain population?
Most definitely. Actually, when the economics turned in 2008, the conversation began about helping families that were trying to stay intact to be housed together. Another demographic that was on the rise was single fathers. Traditional shelters usually separate families. They put the mothers with the children, and the fathers are usually in a separate facility, oftentimes not even able to see each other. And this places an enormous hardship on the parents as well as the children. So they started to have a discussion about how can we bring them and help them to stay together while they're facing homelessness. And that's how the idea of bringing the shelter component to New Futures came about.
And that's a seriously appreciable component of what New Futures offers, because like you said, a lot of people don't know that.
They don't.
Of course, my mental health background tells me that, because I worked in this community for over 20 years as a mental health professional with organizations that were concerned about those issues on a daily basis and some of the many challenges that people face. Okay. And oftentimes we think about a person who's homeless as, oh, they'll just go somewhere and they'll get temporary housing or maybe transitional housing, and there'll be one big happy family trying to restore their lives. Yeah. But that's not the case.
Not at all. No. Unfortunately, especially for families, it's a lot harder to pull a family out of homelessness than it is for an individual. There's many more issues, and it's so multi-layered and complex that sometimes it takes them a lot longer. Traditional shelters are 90 days. It takes a little longer for a family. There's usually health issues involved as well as mental health issues. And again, getting those stable and getting them on a healthy path takes some time.
So in a technical sense, we would want you to be able to work yourself out of a job, because we would hope that, well, you know,
that's the goal. That's the goal, yeah.
But we want you to stay gainfully employed, but we want to work you out of a job because we want to believe that we can really address the challenge of homelessness. But I wonder, from your perspective, are you seeing more people who are requiring your services?
Unfortunately, yes, I am. Family homelessness of all the demographics in homelessness is actually not improving as quickly as the single homelessness, your veteran homelessness. It's just because of the complexity of the homeless dynamic among families. It's so many different areas that issues come in. So unfortunately, it can take one small issue, as small as having a major health issue. You lose your job, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay your utilities, and then you have to find another job that might take a few months. Before you know it, you're out of a house, and that's with 2 working parents.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
So,
great point too that you make, because
Two
we think,
incomes.
yeah, we think about those issues of affordable health care, affordable housing, affordable education, and we think about the illness that we don't anticipate happening, or the accident that happens and then derails that family's progress. And this is something that can literally happen to anyone.
Any person. And another aspect people don't think about, disasters. I have a lot of families who are in the shelter because of fires or a flood that happened and their home was condemned. And you get some assistance from agencies, but if it takes time and you don't have insurance, that's where you end up, is in a shelter.
Yeah, absolutely a very complex challenge. Candy, I always wonder when we have board members come on this broadcast, what attracted you to the work of New Futures? Because obviously you're a volunteer, and we always celebrate volunteers on this broadcast, but what attracted you to this organization?
Well, Kenny, I'll tell you, the way I came to work with Jerilyn and New Futures, I came to know a mother and her 2 children that were in a dire situation, and they were facing eviction. And I wanted to help in any way that I could. And as you mentioned, we're so fortunate in North Alabama. We have charity organizations and shelters and churches that work very hard to jump in and help. But when it's a family situation, when it's a mother with children, when it's a mother with a male child approaching 12 years old, it's not always an easy solution. And as I tried to help this family, I found out just how difficult the journey can be. And fortunately, I was connected to Jerilyn and New Futures during this process. And subsequently, the family was connected to Jerilyn and New Futures, and they are now residents and in a much, much better situation. So it was my journey, the process that I went through, trying in some small way to help this family, that I learned of the need for homeless families. And I think empathy is a great motivator. I tried to empathize with this family, to put myself in that mother's shoes, and it spurred me to action to help, and that's how I came to New Futures.
Yeah, and oftentimes it is that experience that we have, that opportunity that we have to get to know somebody who's really going through that. So many times we see stories and there are statistics that are given, or a person is maybe marginalized in some way. And then we actually get to know the heart and soul of a person and realize that this is a human being, flesh and blood, just like myself. And the reality is that this actually is something that can draw empathy for a person's experience and perhaps motivate people to want to get involved. And I know that one of the things that New Futures as a nonprofit organization needs is funding and resources.
Yes, yes.
So how do you get your funding, and what is that situation like right now in terms of, are you where you need to be, or are you trying to do something more in order to be able to provide more?
We just expanded last year, and we filled up immediately. We gained 7 more beds, and within 2 weeks we were full, and we stay full. And we work from an area-wide waiting list based on who has the most dire need. And we're looking
North Alabama,
yes,
or North
and
Huntsville,
it's really
I shouldn't say North
really
Huntsville, but
North Alabama,
North
because
Alabama.
people come from all over, because within a 150-mile radius, we're the only family shelter that takes boys over the age of 12, or
That's
husbands and
huge.
wives stay together, or single fathers in particular.
Wow.
They're just really limited in their resources. We are always looking to do more. Our goal is to be able to house all that need housing. Right now we have a 13-room facility, and we are able to keep that full at all times. And our funding, unfortunately, is shared throughout the whole North Alabama as well. So as more agencies and more entities get involved, our funding is then changed and reduced to meet the needs of other agencies. So most of our funding actually comes from public donations, church donations, individuals who support what we do. We have a good relationship with different churches in the area who give us regular amounts to support us. And then we apply for grants. Anything we're eligible for, we go for it and request. And we are a mostly volunteer organization. I myself just became a paid employee in the last year and a half, almost
Wow.
2 years now. The first few years I did it as a volunteer so that the agency could keep going. But we continue to look at ways that we can save money through programs through volunteers, through donations. We take most donations of anything, and that helps us to save money so that we can stay in budget.
I'm assuming you're one of only a few paid employees, if
Yes.
there are any more. I don't
No,
know.
I'm the only paid employee.
Wow. And so you literally are staffed by volunteers.
Literally.
And so what kind of staffing needs do you have?
We have clerical needs. We have someone who'd be interested in doing a volunteer coordination. We could also use education volunteers. We have an after-school program for our children. Homeless children, in addition to dealing with everything else, also face lower developmental levels than their counterparts in their classroom. So we try to help impact that by having people there to do homework with them, and then to do just simple phonics and mathematics to get them up to their counterparts. And then they get prizes for that kind of thing, so it gives them a motivation to work harder. We could use someone to help out with our facilities, to help, as we need things repaired. There's quite a few needs.
You have a whole wish list.
Whole wish list.
Yeah.
We have a meal program that we're trying to institute. We've had Thursday being fed to us every Thursday for the last 5 years, and we would like to expand that to where the families can have a break from having to prepare meals. So
I'm really trying to avoid getting on my soapbox about the eating thing. I just saw something the other day that said 40% of the food that is cooked and prepared is wasted in society. And I'm thinking, it's a crying shame that we actually have those kinds of shortages. And as good and as much as I know some people eat, that should not be an issue in our society. That should not be an issue in a progressive society where people are civilized.
true.
And so I said I wasn't going to get on my soapbox. I better get off whatever I'm on right now because I feel like I'm going there. Candy, I wanted to ask you, we've got about 3 minutes left in the broadcast, but I wanted to give you a chance to just talk a little bit about the idea that as a board member, one of your big responsibilities and the others that serve with you is really board development, resource development, and that kind of thing. So as we're talking about this, just give a pitch for volunteers and talk about how you would like to be able to perhaps connect with parts of the community that may not be familiar with New Futures or maybe looking for an opportunity to make some kind of a viable contribution to the success of someone's life.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, it was empathy that brought me to New Futures, and my goal is to inspire that same kind of empathy and drive action from both individuals and businesses in the community to help support New Futures. So whether that's something, as Jerilyn mentioned, providing a meal, committing to once a month, for instance, providing a meal to the shelter. Each meal at the shelter costs about $100. So a commitment like that from a business would be a great blessing to New Futures.
And each meal meaning for the
entire shelter. That's
entire
correct.
Shelter, right.
That's correct. We have multiple fundraisers throughout the year, and so one of my primary goals is to garner support and interest in those fundraisers. Just next week at Panera, we are having an event where if you bring the flyer that you can obtain from our Facebook page, a portion of the proceeds will go to support New Futures. Also, we have a telethon that we're trying to plan. And I have jumped on that to help find funding to offset production costs and expenses that go along with our telethon. So I would very much like to find a business or businesses that would help contribute to that effort. That could be a huge fundraiser for us. Telethons are often so successful. Another effort that I am promoting is a shoe drive that we are going to be holding starting the 1st of March and going through May. And that is where we will collect used shoes any shoes that you have cluttering your closet.
And there are probably a lot of those too.
Well, listen, as a woman, I can tell you I have quite a few pair of shoes that I am not wearing in my closet, unfortunately. But if you donate the shoes to New Futures, we have partnered with an organization that will provide us funding for those shoes. They in turn take those shoes and sell them to developing nations. So it's really a win-win situation all across the board. As Jerilyn mentioned, we're always looking for volunteers to volunteer their time to help out at the shelter. Also, if someone feels called to serve on our board, you know, we welcome the expertise and the input of members from the community who really have a heart to support New Futures. We would love to have them join the leadership of the board as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'd be available to talk to anybody
Definitely.
who might be interested in finding out how they can get connected. How would people reach out to you? Where can they find you?
On Facebook.
Anywhere.
So
Website, phone
we have
number?
our website. Our phone number is on our Facebook, but it's 800-365-3553. And that goes directly to myself. And so we can set up a schedule for them to come in, take a tour, talk more about what we do, and see if they have any interest in whichever area.
And where are you on Facebook? Is it New Futures?
It's New Futures Inc.
Okay.
On Facebook. Yes,
All
it
right.
is.
Yeah, we want to make sure people can find you.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
it's not always easy to do that.
Yeah,
out
and our
there.
website is keepingfamiliestogethernf.org.
Okay, Keeping Families Together, NF.org. Outstanding. Well, lots of ways that they can connect to you. Jerilyn Johnson is the Executive Director of New Futures, Inc. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Candy Ballenger is Board Secretary. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Kenny.
And we want to thank you for being a part of our conversation today. We hope that you've learned all about New Futures, and we hope that you'll take an opportunity to support them in their mission to resolve the issue of homelessness and to just step alongside with people who are sometimes transitionally in need. It's something that I know will make you feel so good because you've made a difference in somebody's life. We hope that you will also pay attention to the fact that the video that you just saw is also found on our Impact with Kenny Anderson Facebook page. And we hope that you'll like that page, and you can also see some behind-the-scenes shots of what happens when the camera stops rolling. For Impact, I'm Kenny Anderson. We'll see you again soon.